7b.
All right, good evening, everybody. We have a very exciting daf today, the opening of the 7th perek of Masechet Shabbat, which includes a lot of very important principles and is also very interesting. We're going to be talking about the hatat offering. If someone violates Shabbat on purpose with witnesses, then the punishment is sikilah. Not that we do that very often, but I think it's just a reflection of the severity of Shabbat. Now, if a person does it, violates Shabbat by mistake, then they bring a hatat offering. Okay, so what we're going to deal with is how many chatat offerings must one bring if one is on a particular Shabbat violating in many ways, both cooking and carrying and also plowing, right? So is that one chatat offering or for each and every action, right? That's what we're going to deal with. And again, not that in the times of the Mishnah people were able to bring offerings, but conceptually we're thinking about what is considered one lapse of judgment and when do you consider it multiple lapses of judgment. So it gets into a lot of very interesting conceptual ideas. So we start with the Mishnah at the bottom of 67b. It says, Kelal gadol amiru b'Shabbat. This is a major principle. Kol ha'shochayach aikar Shabbat v'asa melachot harbeh b'Shabbatot harbeh eno chayav ela achat. Someone who forgot the essence of Shabbat. Maybe he learned it once, maybe not. We're going to discuss that in the Gemara. But right now, he doesn't even know that there is such a concept that you can't do work on Shabbat. And so he's going for many weeks, many years. The halacha is he only has to bring one chatat because all that happened within one lapse of judgment. That's case number one. Case number two is hayodea ikar Shabbat. He knows what Shabbat is. He learned it in his bar mitzvah lessons. The problem is he doesn't know what day of the week it is. We can identify this. What day is today? Nobody knows, right? And so he lost track of time. Maybe he's traveling in the desert and he doesn't have access to a calendar. Okay, so he doesn't know what day of the week is, but one day of the week, right, is Shabbat, and he forgot the whole Shabbat. Maybe he crossed the international date line or something. Okay, so in that case, he brings one chatat for the entire Shabbat, but he has to bring one for every Shabbat because he knows the essence of Shabbat. He just forgot that today was Shabbat, but in the next week he should have figured it out. Okay. That would be like 52 for the year if it does it all for a whole year. Hayodea shu Shabbat ve'asa melachot harbeh b'Shabbatot harbeh chayav al kol av melacha u'melacha. If, however, so that was case number 2. Now case number 3, he knows Shabbat. He knows that today is Shabbat and he knows what it's all about. But he forgot that cooking is not allowed. If he confused it with Yom Tov, and so he's cooking. He thinks he's keeping Shabbat. He didn't realize that. Cooking something with liquid. So in that case, he brings a chatat offering not for every action, but every av melacha. So if he barbecued and boiled and also broiled, right? All those are within cooking. And so he has to bring only one chatat for that category. If you violate multiple categories, it'll be multiple. This is just saying the same thing that we just said. If you do many things that are within the same av, we're going to see the avot in the next Mishnah, then that is only one. Okay, so we have 3 fundamental cases in the Mishnah: forgetting Shabbat altogether, forgetting what day of the week it is, and forgetting that this specific activity is not permitted. Very good. So that's the Mishnah. Now, the opening Gemara, as is often the case, the opening of almost every Masechet and often many Perakim start off with a stama, something that you're going to see there's not many names. This is like an editorial introduction. Maybe it was done in yeshivot, and that usually has to do more with the form than with the content of the Mishnah. And this is a good typical case. We're asking about the form. My tamatana kilal gadol. Why do we introduce with this big rule? What's so big about it? I'm going to be switching back and forth a little to the, not to Pizmonim, but rather to the Mishnah. itself, so you can see it in context. Here he says, Kalal Gadol Amaru b'Shabbat. That's our Mishnah. Then the next Mishnah is going to list the 39 melachot. We'll get there eventually. And then the third Mishnah says, Od Kalal Acher Amaru. Another one. So you have to say, this is a major one, because then later we have a minor one. Okay, and this is actually a typical form. We can find it in many places. I just showed you Shabbat. Here's Mishnah Shavi'it, the seventh Perek. Also the seventh Perek. Something interesting about that. Oh, isn't that fantastic? Shabbat and Shavi'it, right? Both wait till the seventh Perek to tell you the Klal Gadol. All right, there's some really fancy footwork, some sophisticated literary editing that they want to emphasize the seventh day, the seventh year, and they put Klal Gadol in the seventh Perek. All right, so something very beautiful, and we have to think carefully about the editorial choices, the literary structure of the Mishnah. And so here in Shavi'it also it says, Kalal Gadol Amru Bashavi'it. And it can list the major thing. And Mishnah, second Mishnah, Od Kalal Acher Amru, yet another one. So you see that this is a typical format. Yet, that's Shavi'it. When it comes to Ma'asrot, which is right at the beginning of the Perek, it says Kalal Amru b'Ma'asrot. Doesn't say Kalal Gadol. And then the next line says Od Kalal Acher Amru. So the question is, how come in those two, Shabbat and Shavi'it, it says Kalal Gadol and then Od Kalal? Here it just says Kalal and Od Kalal. That's the major thing we're going to focus on for this Amud. Okay, now that you know what we're going to say, let's go back. Okay, so why do you say that? Is it because Mishum dekabel mitne od kelal acher tena kelal gadol? Legabe shivit nameh Mishum dekabel mitne od kelal acher tena kelal gadol. So far, so good, right? We have both Shabbat and Shivit, kelal gadol, and then a minor one. V'hakabe ma'ased dekatani kelal acher lo tani kelal gadol. But in ma'ased also you have two statements, kelal and kelal. But the first one doesn't say kelal gadol, so we have to look for something deeper. Actually, there is an Amora here. Okay. Shabbat u'Shavi'it de'it behu avot v'toladot tena gadol. Ma'aseh delet be'avot v'toladot la tena kelal gadol. There's a substantive difference. Regarding Shabbat and Shavi'it, there are major categories and minor categories. There's 39 major categories and then subcategories. Regarding Ma'aseh also, there's major categories, what you can't do. You can't sow, you can't reap, and things like that. There's 4 major categories and the subcategories. But regarding Ma'aseh, there's no major and minor categories, and therefore we don't use the word gadol. Okay, so that works. The problem is there's another version of the Mishnah that's taught by Bar Kapara, himself a Tana, and in his version of the Mishnah, it does say Kalal Gadol regarding Ma'aseh. So now we have to justify everything according to him as well, because he's worthy. My avot my toladot ika. There's no toladot that you can stick in there, so we need another explanation. Elalav hainu ta'ama. Okay, start from scratch. Gadol onsho shel Shabbat yotel mishel Shavi'it. Te'ilu Shabbat ita ben betalush ben bimchubar. Ilu Shavi'it betalush leta bimchubar ita. Regarding the laws of Shabbat, have more cases in which one would be punished. Happens to be also that the punishment is more severe, but we're focusing now on more cases. On Shabbat, you can violate Shabbat and both with something that's attached to the ground and something that's detached to the ground. Attached to the ground if you cut it, detached to the ground if you take wheat and grind it, right? But regarding Shavi'it, only if it's attached to the ground can I violate Shavi'it. And so therefore, Shabbat is more gadol than Shavi'it, although they both say gadol, so it's okay. בגדול עונשה של שביעית יותר מן המעשר, ואילו שביעית איתה בין מאכל אדם בין במאכל בהמה. ואילו מעשר במאכל אדם איתה במאכל בהמה לתה. And Shavi'it is bigger than, more punishable than Ma'aser, because Shavi'it, whether it's human food or animal food, you're not allowed to plant it on Shavi'it in the Shavi'it year. But regarding the tithing, only human food needs to be tithed, not animal food, and so therefore Shavi'it has the word big, and Ma'aseh doesn't have the word big because it's smaller in its scope. Now back to Bar Kapara, Tetani Kelal Gadol, B'Ma'aseh, Gadol onsho shel Ma'aseh yoter mishel pe'ah. Oh, he could also say Kelal Gadol. We can find another way, because relative to something else, it is also Gadol. It just has to be Gadol relative to something, and then it's warrant saying Gadol. So ma'ased has more punishment relative to pe'ah. Pe'ah doesn't have any klal gadol at all. Dilu ma'ased ita bete'ena v'yarak. Ma'ased applies, you have to give a tithe of figs and vegetables, but pe'ah, leaving a corner of your field, leta bete'ena v'yarak. You don't have to leave over a corner of your fig field or of your tomato plants. Ditnan klal gadol bepe'ah. כל שהוא אוכל ונשמד וגידולו מן הארץ ולכיתתו כאחת מכניסו לקיום חייב בפאה. We get to learn a lot of different things. These tangents are good. You get to build your body of knowledge here. So there's a basic principle, say kalal amru bepe'ah, but not klal gadol. And so because in pe'ah, it has to be only leave pe'ah for something that is food and something that is guarded and something that grows from the ground and that you harvest it all at one time. And you bring it into storage. Only those things are chayav bepe'ah. So what are each of these clauses? This is a bit of a tangent. This is to exclude plants like this, which are used for dyeing but not eaten. Nishmad, something that's guarded and not something that you don't care about, that you give away to the public. Has to grow from the ground. You don't have to give pe'ah on mushrooms and truffles. By the way, that's why they're shehakol. They don't say adama on mushrooms. And they are gathered at once. Figs figs blossom ripen at different times, and so you couldn't leave a corner at any one time. So therefore, you don't have to do it at all. And that you can preserve them. The mote yadak, not vegetables. Grain, you take them and you dry them out and they last all year, but vegetables, you can't do that. And so therefore, vegetables are excluded. Anyway, so what we see here is that we can say kilal gadol, according to Bar Kapara even, in all three, Shabbat, Shvi'it, Maased, because they all have a greater access, greater a punishment in more cases than pe'ah. So they are gadol compared to pe'ah. Ve'lu gabe ma'aser, it's not true. Regarding ma'aser, it says tenan kilal tenan kilal amur ma'aser kol shu ochel v'nishmar v'gidol min haaretz v'chayav ma'aser v'idol likitato ke'achat machniso l'kiyum lo tenan. Compared to pe'ah, it does not say that it has to be harvested at once or that it has to be brought in for safekeeping, for storage, and so therefore that would include figs and vegetables. Okay, this concludes the first half of the discussion. It's a little bit of a tangent. I think we could probably think of a simpler reason why it says kilal gadol and not klal, and you see that in at least one case it interchanges. But I think this was an opportunity for the Talmud to bring different cases all together and just be able to compare them. And it shows a wide variety of knowledge and able to bring things together, compare, and then we learn a lot. And so this is a nice introduction to now the more specific topic at hand, which is the general categories of Shabbat. Okay, so part two. Rav Ushmuel, though they are first generation Amoraim in Bavel, the most important ones. Tamre Talvayu, and actually agree. We saw in the previous couple of Perakim, they disagreed about every Mishnah. Finally, they agree. Matnitin betinok shenishba leben hagoyim, beger shenitgayer leben hagoyim. Aval hikiru basof shachach chayav al kol Shabbat veShabbat. They're making a distinction. They're saying the opening clause of the Mishnah. I'm going to go back and forth a little because I want you to see it in the text. So the opening clause of the Mishnah that says whoever forgets the essence of Shabbat has to bring only one. This is not talking about someone who knew it and forgot it, but rather it's talking about someone who grew up as it was taken captive as a baby, or who was a convert and never learned the laws of Shabbat at all. And that's why they didn't know anything. Finally, when they come and learn it, then they have to bring one chatat for everything that they've done in their lives. However, if he did know it, if he had even one bar mitzvah lesson where the teacher told him about Shabbat, and then he forgot it after, and he's reminded 20 years later, then he has to bring a chatat for each and every week that he missed it, because he did once learn it. Okay, is this the Peshat of the Mishnah? It looks like not. So over here on the side, I brought you the 3 clauses of the Mishnah, right? And what we assumed before, okay, this is going to be my visual for the next few minutes, so I hope it's clear. I think if we think of the Peshat of the Mishnah, we would line it up something like this, which is that the Mishnah is talking about the second case, what I have here, not a convert, but long-term lapse of memory. I forgot for many years. Then that's you forgot the essence of Shabbat, because that's all, after all, the words of it says, Hashocheach. Whereas weekly memory lapse, I forgot each and every week what day it is, right? That's forgot the day, would match up with that. And forgetting specific activity would match up with case D. So we have B, C, and D. And Rav and Shmuel, what they're doing is introducing a new case above it, which is a convert that never knew anything. And so now we're going to have to figure out how we correlate that with the Mishnah. So we're going to go step by step doing that. Tanan, Hashochech ikar Shabbat, alav mikala dahavya le yedi'ah meikara. The language of the Mishnah says someone who forgot Shabbat. If I say I forgot, that means I once knew, doesn't it? Not necessarily. La, my Shabbat. It means it's a little looser in the language. It was always forgotten to him, right? And he never knew it at all. Okay, I'm thinking about excuses that we might make, right? Did you not know or did you forget? Okay, so therefore, case number 1, now we're trying to push this up. Let me see if I could do this, right? And so according to Rav and Shmuel, we wanna push this up. But you see what happens here. Now we're going to have a problem with how to match up the next cases. So if that's true, aval hikir ul basof shachach, mai. What if you did know once, but then you forgot for a long time? Chayav kol Shabbat v'Shabbat, right? Because that's what you just said explicitly, right? If you once knew, then you chayav every week. Aditanei hayodea ikar Shabbat v'asam alachot harbe b'Shabbatot harbe, chayav kol Shabbat v'Shabbat. Litne hikir ulbasof shachach v'kol sheken ha. Then, in that case, if you think that case 1 lines up to A, then the second thing in the Mishnah shouldn't be the case where you forgot the day. You should rather have told me the case where I forgot long term, and I have to bring a chatat for every week, and then I will know all the more so. If when I have a long-term lapse, I have to bring one every week. When I forget each and every week what day of the week it is, then for sure I would have to bring a chatat every week. And so this is no good. This doesn't. The language of B doesn't match up with case number 2 in the Mishnah. So that's a problem. V'kol sheken ha. Mai hayodei ikar Shabbat. Mi shehaya yodei ikara shel Shabbat ve'shachach. So you know what that actually means. Someone who knows it was Shabbat. It means someone who knows that who knew it once and forgot. In other words, we're taking C and reinterpreting it not to that he has a weekly lapse of memory, but a long-term lapse of memory. Right? We can fit that into the words. Okay, fine, you can do that here, but what about the next case? Aval lo shechacha mai. What if you didn't forget? You knew it was Shabbat. Chayav al kol melacha u'melacha. Then you have to bring a chatat for every category that you violated. Adetane hayodea shu Shabbat ve'asa melachot harbe b'Shabbatot harbe chayav al kol melacha u'melacha litne hayodea ikar Shabbat ve'kol sheken ha. So in that case, rather than talk about if you forgot a specific activity, I should have spoken about a case where I have a weekly memory lapse and have to bring one chatat on every single activity, and then I would know for sure D if I forgot those specific activities. And so you see, if you're we said the peshat is to line it up like this. Rav and Shmuel are adding another category and thereby pushing it up. But once you push it up, then the next two won't match up. Right? There's a gap, there's a space there, and you can try to wiggle your way and to make this one match this one, and this one match this one, but then this one is still going to match D, and you say, why not say C instead of D? And I would know that all the more so. So in the end, we give up on this, and we realign it back to where we were, as I'll show you. Okay. Ella matnitin keshekir ulbasof shachach. We'll go back to what it was original. The first case of the Mishnah is when you did learn it for your bar mitzvah, you learned it once and you forgot for a long time, for 20 years, you only bring one chatat. Okay, we leave it as peshat. But this is what Rav and Shmuel meant to say. Afilu tinok, adding the word afilu tinok shenishpa ben hagoyim begeshet karib ben hagoyim keshil ulbasof shachach dameh vechayav. And so what they're saying is, don't think that only case number one is chayav one chatat. If you remembered, if you learned about Shabbat once and forgot it for 20 years, you have to bring chatat. Also, and they're being machmir in saying this, also, if you never knew it, you still have to bring a chatat. Okay, so we can leave this lined up this way. Okay, so far so good. That's Rav and Shmuel, who are the rabbis from Bavel. But now we move to Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, otherwise known as Resh Lakish. They're the two great first-generation sages in Eretz Yisrael. They both agree also. Davka hikir ulbasof shachach. Aval tinok shenishba ben hagoyim begeshen karib ben hagoyim patur. They say we line it up just like this, just like you said, which is the peshat meaning. And what about a case of a convert or someone who never knew that there was such a thing as Shabbat? Well, then they are even less than shogeg. Shogeg means you are negligent, right? You should have known better. But this person, there's no way. They never met a Jew. They never heard of this. And so you can't even hold them liable even to bring a chatat. They don't have to bring anything at all. Okay. This actually looks like it would be the simple meaning that the Mishnah said this and only this. Right. But now we have help from a baraita, which is always good. And here's another Tannaitic source that's a little bit more explicit than our Mishnah. That's a good thing to bring in. Metibeh, we have a question from it. Kelal gadol amiru b'Shabbat, the same language. You see that this is parallel to our Mishnah. Kol hashochech ikar Shabbat ve'asa melachot harbeh b'Shabbatot harbeh eno chayav ela achat. That's the same as the opening of our Mishnah. You forgot Shabbat altogether for a long time. You bring only one for many weeks. Kesad תינוק שנשפע לבן הגויים וגשם קייל בין הגויים ועשה מלאכות הרבה ושבתות הרבה אינו חייב אלא חטאת אחד. And it says, for example, how could you have an example of someone who forgets Shabbat for such a long time? Gives an example of a convert or a baby who was captured. And so you see that the baby that was captured and the convert have to bring one chatat, even if they never knew it. And that flies against what Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shimon said, right? That only if he knew it once and not if he didn't know it. So this baraita supports Rav and Shmuel, and it does not support, it contradicts Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. Okay. V'chayav al hadam achat v'al hacheleb achat v'al avodah zara achat. By the way, that baby who was captured, when he does come and goes to yeshiva and we teach him, he has to bring a chatat, one for all of Shabbat, all the Shabbats. He has to bring another one for all of the blood he ever ate, another one for all the forbidden fat he ever ate, and one for all the avodah zarah he ever did. So he still has to bring 613, right? Well, not all 613 are chayav chatat, right? All the ones that are chayav chatat, he has to bring one for every mitzvah. But within Shabbat, only one. Okay, very good. We're continuing the baraita. Munbaz dan lifnei Rabbi Akiva. And in fact, this Tana, his name is Munbaz. It's a strange name. It's a Persian name. We know of another Munbaz who was the wife of Queen Helena of Adiabene. Adiabene is an area in Iraq, and she converted her whole area that she was the queen of. And her husband happened to be named Munbaz. But this is a different person, because that person was not a Tana, although he was as great as he was. So there was a Tana named Munbaz, which is interesting, because all Tanaim we know of are from Eretz Yisrael. But I guess this one, maybe he was originally from Bavel. And he came to Eretz Yisrael because he was speaking to the Rabbi Akiva. And he said, Ho'ilu mezid karui chote. Sorry, I skipped 2 words down up here. Munbaz poter. Regarding all this, Munbaz says, patur, that the tinok shenishba, or the convert, they do not have to bring anything at all, no chatat offering. They disagree. In other words, Rabbi Yochanan ben Shimon ben Lakish would agree with Munbaz. Okay, so now they're discussing the details of why this would be. Munbaz was discussing this with Akiva. He says, Ho'il umezid karui chote, v'shogeg karui chote, ma mezid shayta lo yedi'ah, af shogeg shayta lo yedi'ah. Both someone who does it on purpose and who is negligent are called choteh. They're called sinners. After all, they're bringing a chatat offering. So, just like a mezid, it must be he knew that this is prohibited and he did it on purpose. So to shogeg is also someone who knew that it was prohibited and still did it, albeit by mistake. But it must be that he had some knowledge. If he has no knowledge at all, then he's anus, he's patur altogether. That's a good argument. Amar lo Rabbi Akiva, harini mosif al devarecha. He uses an argument ad absurdum. I'm going to add to something you say. Ima mezid shayta yedi'ah b'shat maaseh, av shogeg shayta lo yedi'ah b'shat maaseh. If you really want to compare them, then say, look, someone who does mezid knows while he's doing it that is prohibited, and he does it anyway to spite. So if you can compare them because they're both called sinners, then say someone who's shogeg also that he knows even at the time that he's performing the sin, he knows that it's prohibited. Are you going to say that? Amar lo hen v'kol sheken she'osafta. Munbaz says, yes, I would agree with that, and thank you for adding that. Right? Even if he knows that awareness at the time, but still he did it for some other reason that he made a mistake. He still doesn't have to bring chatat. He's still patur. Amar lo lidvarecha en ze karui shogeg ela mezid. Rabbi Akiva says that doesn't make sense. This person would be called purposeful. You know that if he knows it's not allowed, then there's no other criteria that you can define it by. Okay, that's the end of their argument. And okay, so that's the end of the argument. That's the end of the baraita. So now we're going all the way back. Okay, ketane miha kesad tinok. So in the way back, if you all the way up here, right? So we're discussing again. The Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shimon say the first case of the Mishnah is only if he knew once and then forgot altogether. But if he was a baby and he never knew about Shabbat at all, then he doesn't bring a korban chatat. However, in this baraita, it quotes the first opening of the Mishnah and gives an example of the baby who was taken captive. So therefore, you have to say the baby is taken captive also brings a chatat. So that's our major question. According to Rav Shmuel, that's fine because they included that category, as we said above. But how are they going to explain it? Oh, they have a good explanation. Amri lach Rabbi Yochanan Resh Lakish la'amika munbaz de patar anan demninen kemunbaz. Right, we have an opinion. Although it's not the majority opinion, there is a minority opinion of munbaz, and so we can rely on munbaz. And so that's the conclusion. And so what we see to summarize is that the Mishnah in the end is going to line up this way. And so we have these three cases. But the case above of someone who never knew at all is subject to the machloket between Rav and Shemuel, who say he would have to bring a korban chatat, and Rabbi Yochanan and Shekish and Eretz Yisrael, who say he does not have to bring a korban chatat. And the argument between these two sets of Amoraim actually parallel a machloket between the majority of Tanaim and Munbaz. And you can tune in back tomorrow to hear more about the reason. The Maita Amad de Munbaz, what is the reason that he holds his opinion? We'll leave that for next time. So thank you, everybody. That was fun.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.